Great. So we'll bow in and then we'll just loosen the body up a little bit. Okay. Okay. Morning, John.
Morning.
Okay, perfect. We do a little bowing together. Great. Onegaishimasu.
Onegaishimasu.
Good. So we'll just start loosening the body off. Just work on with a vertical direction. So feet shoulder width apart, hip width apart. And just start just feeling the whole body. Keep the knees loose. Feet just gently hitting the floor to settle the weight. Really relax the head, relax the face. A little bit of length through the back of the neck. And relax the shoulders. Just start to play with the arms a little bit, so releasing the arms, elbows, wrists, fingers. And just play now, we're taking it one side, so a little bit more weight on one foot. Let the arm of the same hand, of the same foot, same side, release also. And just play between both feet, leaving the ground, and just going up to one. Take the body lightly side to side, not a big movement. Again, play with doing it with one foot, like a hop. And do it with both. Keep the arms really simple all the time. Gently front and back with the feet. You can either split them front and back, or you can take both feet forwards and backwards. Nice gentle rotation of the hips. Keep the shoulders tracking with the hips so they follow. No twisting. Back into the center. Leave the toes in the ground, just let the heels strike the ground. Keep that bounce and pulse going through the whole body. Good. Just start to open the fingers and try and time it with the heel hitting the ground. Extension out, open the hand. You think about spreading the fingers away from each other as well. So out and away. The hands. And just play with the position of the arms a little bit. Keep the shoulder relaxed. That pulls through the whole body. Let it ground and let it extend out of the hands. Gently just start to take the hands out to the side. Slowly raising them out to the sides. And out to the top. All the way up. And slowly back down. One pulse at a time. Good. And the weight down. Good. And just settling the fingers, the heels down. Take the hands together. Elbows close to the body, just roll the wrists over, one over the other. And then change direction. Making a fist one side, rolling one way, and the other way. And change. And change direction. Place the arm at the side, let the arms wipe across the face. And change direction. Good. And just with the hands in contact, rolling the shoulders. Nice tight circles, try and really isolate the shoulders. Start to open out the chest a little bit with it. Start to come off the body with the hands. Start to really bring the upper back into the movement. Let the body incline a little bit and also open up to the back. And then change the direction, taking the arms forwards. Keep that big motion. Let it travel into the hips and the knees. Okay. Just taking the side of the body, just roll in nice big circles with the arm, one way. Good. See the side. Good. So across the body. Open out to the back. Let them just gently make contact with the shoulders, both sides. Good. You just set them, the arms down to the side, just working the head and the neck. The shoulders facing forward, gently looking over the shoulder. You bring the elbows into it now, just keep the hips facing forward, gently rotating over to the back with the elbows, chest, and the head. Follow down the elbow to the back, the eyes. Good. Release the arms out. I'm going to bring the hips into the motion now. Wrap against the body and wrap. You just loosen up the lower back a little bit, just reach up. This nice and gently, release the arms, release the lower back. Just let the arms hang down towards the ground. A little bit of contact in the ground. Release the lower back. Gentle movements. Keep the knees released, no stretch down the legs. Relaxing the lower back. Very gently, lightly start to slowly draw the back up. As if you're kind of pulling the arms up with the lower back. Pulling up. And down. And then we'll do the same thing, just a little bit more dynamic, reaching up. We release the arms and just let the body fall between the legs. Come up. A little bit wider, so you want the chest to basically fall towards the thighs, towards the upper leg. Nice and easy. Stretch it up and drop down. Stretching up and release down. Stretching up and release down. And one more. Reaching up, releasing down. Just leave the body at the bottom. Just loosen up the spine. Roll a little bit through the shoulders and the hips. And then you slowly draw yourself up to standing. Keep the spine curled and then bring it up to the top. Okay, to the hips. Nice wide stance. The hips travel a big full circle around the body. Nice strong contact with the feet. Especially the big toe. And change direction. Big circles. Great. Okay, for the knees, just placing the feet together. And we'll pulse through the knees. Not fully lengthened at the back. Releasing them down towards the toes. Lengthen them gently back. Let's take one step out with the feet. I'm going to circle them in towards each other. And keep a nice contact with the ground. Good, and then change, go to the outside. The circle, splitting them away from each other. Good. Gently stretching the back. Pull the toes up off the ground if you like. Got 3 points of contact in the ground with both feet. Base of the big toe, little toe, and the heel. For the ankle and the toes, you're going to press the toes into the ground, bend towards the ground with the knees. Some weight into the toes. Bring the heel off the ground in this one. Just stretch the toes and the ankle. Pressing back, lengthening up again, pull the toes up towards the face. And pressing the toes into the ground, and releasing the knees forward. And then just to increase it, keep the hands, you can keep the hands on the ground, you can do this without them. But play with the knee, you're basically going to take it. So you go 1, down, and then 2, up with the foot. So bring the knee to the ground, and then stretch up through the foot. To the ground, and then stretch up. So use the knee as the kind of director, but really for the foot and the toes. Pull the knee down. Pull the knee up. pull the knee down, pull the knee up, pull the knee down, knee up, down, up, down, up. Okay, great. Just settle the hands back into the ground, loosen out the hips a little bit. Press a bit of weight into the arms. Pull the body up along with the legs. Slowly bending the knees, drawing back up to the top. Okay, good. So we're just going to a lunge position. Just going to shift the mat. You want about a walking stride with the legs. So just you've got the feet together, just take a kind of natural step forward and just settle into it. You want the feet to be on the track, basically, like two railway lines. And both toes pointing forward in this case. Just find that position. Just to get the knees released, what I want you to do is think about locking the knees tall. So you bring them straight and then just release into them. So you just settle the hips into it. You're just going to take the body up along. You can use the hands in the ribs and the base of the hip bone. But just think about pulling the chest up long, pulling the back of the neck high. And in this case, let the elbows come out to the sides. You're going to kind of spread the chest out, pull the hips up tall without pulling the knees up. So just lengthen up through the chest. Let it draw the rib cage up off the hips. And think about floating the head off the rib cage. And we're just going to start here just gently, hinging forward on the hip and then back. Roll the body forward, pull the body back. And forward, let all that movement come from the hips in this case. It's just, you're basically chopping the hips forward. The movement comes from here, and it pulls back. A few more. Now from that position, you're going to pull the arms long. To the sides, thumbs start to pull out. Spread the hands, spread the fingers away from each other. Big, long position. With the arms. We're going to hinge the hips forward in the same way we did, and then reach the arms forward, pulling the arms out long. In this case, just think about anchoring the body in the ground with the feet. So what I want you to think about is wrinkling the mat together, so as if you're trying to pull the ground together. As you reach out a little bit further, a few deep breaths as you do it. So in through the nose, breathe into the back of the rib cage. And then as you breathe out, think about really engaging the abdomen. So it pulled tight all the time. In through the back. And tight in the abdomen as you breathe out. Engaging the core. We're just going to take one more movement here from the back hip. Spiral to the outside. Keep the hands low so you're not coming up too high with the hands. About the height of the heart or the shoulder. Again, a couple of deep breaths in through the back. Really breathe into the back of the ribcage. Lengthened out through the abdomen as you breathe out. Nice and easy pull back to center with the hips. And we do the same on the other side. So again, just find that natural posture. Start from here, just walk out. So it's quite a short posture in this one. Just lengthen up. Pull the knees up a little bit long and then just release them into the ground. So you got to kind of bounce. You want to feel kind of springiness in the knees in this case. Position. A little bit of spring in the step in the knees. Okay. And then again, just from here, lengthen up through the back. You can use these as kind of measuring for this area. You want this area to be expanded, back to be big and full. Pull the neck out long, float the head off the rib cage, pull the elbows up to the sides. Couple of deep breaths. And then just starting with the hinge, so just on the hip, just cutting the hips back, bringing the body forwards. Good. Pulling the arms out long, pull the fingers out nice and wide. Big long position. Think about spreading the thumbs away from each other. Keep that lengthened position with the body and the upper body. And as you hinge forward, squeeze the arms out. Right through the center line. Think about the tailbone and the hands a little bit pulling away from each other here. Strong position with the arms. And a couple of deep breaths as you do it. And expanding the ribcage to the back and lengthening, engaging the abdomen as you breathe out. On the next out breath, hinging from the back here, spiral the body a bit away. The weight now's in the front leg, not really much in the back foot. Deep breaths here. Expand the ribcage to the back. And lengthen the abdomen from the out breath. Pull yourself back to center with the legs. And release it. Shake out the legs a little bit. We'll just do one more pose here, which is like a gorilla pose. So it's like a deep squat position. So the setup for this is you want to be a double hip width, go a bit wide with this. Let the toes, in this case, angle outwards. Okay? So you're going to just now just feel here that you can bring the toes up off the ground. So your weight's basically distributed between the heel and these kind of 2 points in the base of the big toe and the little toe. Yeah. So try and feel both edges of the feet. You might feel that you're more in the big toe than the outside of the foot. So try and make it kind of even, like a kind of 3-point tripod on both feet. Okay. So just that. We're just going to play here just with, again, hinging the hip. You can put the toes down, but they just make contact with the ground. So it's not that you're kind of gripping the ground with the toes. Weighted into the ground. We're going to play with just chopping the hips backward this way. And just keeping that extension out. As you go down, chop the hips and just let the arms come out naturally. And then pull the body back. So the knees, the order in this one is like the hips pull back and then the knees release. Okay, so that's the kind of what tends to happen with this, the knees release and then the hips pull back. So really do this from the hips, so consciously, or actually do it. But I chop the hip and then the knees go with it. As the knees release, the hands come out and then pull yourself back up. Okay, so hips release, release the knees. So the knees never travel forwards in this one. Chop the hips back and release. So it's a little bit different to a squat position, just really hip hinge. Just a couple more. Reach out a little bit further each time. And you basically can't go far enough back with it. You can pull the hips back as far as you can. This one. That's the one. Okay, then last one, you're just going to hold at that bottom position. So let the lengthen position out with the arms extended. And then what I want you to do is pull, separate the hands and bring the fingertips towards the ground. So hardly any weight in them. You release the knees a little bit more, but don't let them travel forwards in this case. So it's not a kind of squat in that sense. You're pulling the hips back. A little bit of pressure in the fingers, but not too much. And then what I want you to think about is lengthening again through the spine. About the back of the rib cage and the fingertips gently kind of drawing away from each other. And then we're going to just pull one hand up, so it's facing up, palm up, and then reach it up to the ground, to the sky. Sink it back down, reach one hand up and towards the ceiling. All the time, palm up. So just take your time with it. Keep that strong anchor in the lower body. Raise and release. Raise and release. Raise and release. A couple more each side. Settling the fingertips back down. You're going to find the shin bone with the hands. Pull the back along. And pull the chest up from the ground. Shake out the hips a little bit. We'll just take a few spinal waves to just release the back. So you're just going to start, but you start with the head, let it travel down through the thoracic spine, and then a little bit of spine curl, and then the hips fold. So you'll be able to feel a wave of motion pass through the whole spine. Flex through the whole spine, not one straight piece. Include the arms in the movement as well. And last one is just a dynamic arm swing. This really relates to the sword work. So just settle the feet back in to the ground, shoulder hip width with the feet. The key thing with this exercise is let the hip, the knee and the toes basically form one line. So the main thing to be careful with this as we do it, don't let the knees track in towards the ground this way. Let them basically fall towards the feet this way. Okay. So we're just going to swing the arms up to the top. Imagine you're kind of chopping wood with an axe. You kind of drop the arms down just through the center. Drop the arms down through the center. Drop the arms down through the center. If that feels a bit uncomfortable, you can also just swing them out to the side as well. But try and keep that space. Push the arms through the center line. And the first few, just start this with the fingertips together, so the hands are even. Back. And then through the top, engage the hips, engage the knees, through the movement. Good, just keep going in your own rhythm. And just really look for that alignment, hip, knee, toes, or hip, knee, feet, all forming two lines on either side of the body. And that's perfect. Good. Very nice. Perfect. So great. So if you were doing the swing out to the side now, what I want to do is come back to the center as well. So we're going to do this in an asymmetrical way. So this is where the sword work's kind of interesting for us, because it's an asymmetrical grip in the body, and the body needs to basically deal with it. And the body's actually quite good at dealing with asymmetry. So it's quite good at it. We need to kind of train it as well a little bit. But you're going to place the right hand above the left, just on top, just there, just nice and relaxed there, and then do the same thing. Raise up to the top. The base of this thumb just tucks onto the back of the head, and then from here engage the body down and cut down. Now really imagine you're kind of chopping wood in this case. So it's kind of chopping motion the way I want the weight of the body to drive the arms down. Raise them up, drive them down. Raise them up, drive them down. Raise them up, drive them down. Good, continue your attack. The right hand above on top of the left. Classic kind of woodcutters motion. Yeah, good. Perfect. Okay, take your bokken or stick, whatever you've got to hand. You can use. So we just make a very similar motion using the pen. So you just want to basically find that same position again, about shoulder width apart. You release through the knees. You're going to take the bokken in the left hand, the stick in the left hand, and the right hand is just going to take just above it, about hands width in between the two hands. Okay, and just start this down with the sword. You're going to raise up to the back, movement, and then just drop down, tip back down. The spine. Yeah, it's a full arc. Back, all the way down. And down. Back and down. Here we go. Good. Perfect. Okay, the next step here is just placing the sword in the position of the cut. So the ideal position we want is basically just this point in the arm of the cut, and as if it's resting on top of the hip here. So you're going to do that same motion, big movement to the back, open up to the back, and then just draw the sword down into that position. So find the back, draw down. So nice and grounded at the bottom of it, but not adding anything to the arms, just finding that point in the arc where you can just settle the sword. Again, the feeling is like it's basically settled onto the hip, and the hips are settled onto the knees, and the knees are settling onto the feet, and the feet are in the ground. So the cut basically dropping into the ground this way. Yeah, just give it a try. So placing and settling the cut. Good. Morning, Serena. Good morning. Okay, we're just looking at a little bit of
Morning.
walking work.
Okay.
So just working from shoulder width, just placing the sword into the cut. Yeah. Okay, good. So just before we add focus into this, just notice one thing where your eyes are kind of falling as you do the movement. So there's one thing tends to happen that when we do sword work, is I start to basically focus on the tip of the weapon, or even worse, my own hands this way. So just check. Here in this case, what I don't want to do is be looking at the tip of the sword, or definitely not looking at the hands in this case. Reasons for that is going to pull the whole posture down, and it's going to basically destroy any ability to basically balance the body in a way with the cut. So what I want to do is just find a point out on the wall. It's easier if it's a point, if it's an actual thing on the wall that you can cut towards. And ideally you want it to be really like settle on the horizon. So it should just be a kind of point outside. And I want the cut to basically align through that point, but I don't want to watch the sword. The other one, we're looking at the tips, it starts to twist the body. I start to look at it and I start to twist the head as I do it. So look out basically. So you have a more expanded feeling with the body as well. So think of this as basically you're grounding the body down, but you're also extending out, and not just with the tip of the sword, like beyond the tip of the sword. So your extension is bigger than the tip of the sword, and your grounding is bigger than is deeper than the feet. It's going all the way into the ground. That's it. Good. And then just adding the focus into the cut. So I want you to do this really light, so the feeling's like same coming here, and then just lightly squeezing the sword at the end with the hands. So the idea with this is to focus the grip onto the weapon. So it's apart from many other things that it's practicing, it's training this idea of the ability to focus the grip, strong grip, keeping the body relaxed. So start this lightly. So you reach the back, you cut in, lightly focus the hands, and they're focusing together. And that same feeling, the sword's just resting on the hips, and the hips are resting on the feet and the ground. So the cut's going down, and it's also extending out. Good. Good. Nice. That's good. Good. Okay, same thing now, just using the feet. So that same idea with the cut. We're going to finish the cut as well, but you're going to start now with the right foot forward. So it's just a gentle, again, just a walking position, walking step, or actually even a little bit shorter. So it's a kind of neutral step, but it's quite narrow in the body. So you don't want to be too wide. And it's good. A little bit here. You're going to time the footwork with the raise of the sword now. So you're going to reach the back, you walk the feet together, the back heel just intersects the back foot. And then drop into the cut here. A nice big movement to the back and strong grounding at the bottom of the cut. Focusing the grip lightly. Focusing lightly with the cut. And again, keep the vision out. Keep your gaze forward. Keep your body expanded out. Good. That's it. And da, 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 da. Good. Okay, so we're going to take this front and back now. So you're going to work with the rotation. You're going to cut here on the right in the same way. And then when you release the sword, you're going to also rotate the whole body, face a new direction, which is to the back, and then cut down on the left side. So every time you release the weapon, if you want to raise it, rotate the body with it, and then cut down. You can do this in 2 steps. Raise and rotate, and then cut, release. Raise and rotate, release and cut. Raise, rotate, release and cut. Raise, release. Raise, release. Raise, release. And if you're comfortable with it, just bring it all together. So. Good. Very nice. Good. Using that same idea, so raising, releasing, rotating, and then cutting. Just find a new direction each time. So you can stick to this basic front and back pattern because it's the kind of the easiest one in a sense. And then what I want you to do is just play with. I've got this direction. I'm just going to feel a new direction towards the back. Go to it and cut it. You've got a choice. You can go the long way, or you can go the short way. But ideally, go the long way in this case. So we're going to look at a little bit more rotation work. So find a new direction. It can be any direction. It can also be just to the side, just release. It can be to the side and I go all the way around to the back. Or I can go all the way around the back that way. just explore different patterns. But the key thing is just think about a new direction and align the whole body movement to it. So obviously the bigger the rotation, the harder it is. The more balance I need, the more connection I need with the sword. It's going to challenge all of that ability to connect to the weapon. But don't think too much about it, just find a new direction and align to it. And you can also do this with noise as well. So if you've got like a noisy room or noisy environment, I find a noise, I've got a bird here and I roll towards it. There's a noise here, I engage towards it. If you've not got that, you can also imagine like someone calls your name from behind. They go, Adrian, to the back and you go, whoa, like this. So that sense of like, Ella, whoa, you return to the back. It's that kind of feeling. The whole body, whoa, engages. And you've got to imagine it's a stranger, no idea who it is. Whoa, who is it? That kind of feeling. So you're engaging the whole body with it. This is a great one if you've got dogs barking all the time. You can cut towards the dogs, wham, like this, wham, in a big space. As long as you don't hit the dogs. Good. Good. Perfect. So that was basically working with a stable cut, with a stable body. So not exactly easy, but you're going into a rotation and you're stabilizing the body down. So the relationship to the ground is really easy in a sense. The cut's just going in. What I want you now is move the body with the cut. Okay. So that means when you raise and cut, you're going to be pressing the body in that direction. You can do this, actually start this with forwards. So I rotate to my new direction and then I bridge the distance between it. So I'm pressing the body into it. I roll to a new direction and then I bridge the gap with the body. Again, don't think about this too much. Just think about, I go to meet it with the body. So I go to meet with the body. This is easier to work with objects in the room. If you've got a smallish room, just have the intention to just go forward. But obviously, if you've got a space that you can press, ideally, this is, yeah, tricky, yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. And just realize how difficult this is to do well. So it's actually a really, really tricky thing to do well. Rotating and engaging forward with a cut. Super difficult. Nice. Whoa. Oh, okay, good. So again, we'll introduce one change to this. Again, don't think about this too much. There's obviously lots of technical details. Don't really worry about them too much. Think about connecting the weapon and the body to the thing. So what you're going to do now is use objects in the room and use different distances and various heights as you do it, and try and align the cut to the object. So don't make contact with it, but just have the thing that you're cutting into it. So now you do that same motion, find a new direction, find a new object. In this case, I'm going to this candle and cut into it this way. Find a new object, in this case, this ball, and cut into it this way. Use different heights. In this case, I go for the drop, and really align the body behind the cut. Yeah. So depending on the object and the angle, your sword cut needs to change to meet it. Think, let's see. I'll try and explain this in an easier way. I've not got a bigger ball. I'll put it close to the screen so you can see it's big. Okay, think of all the time, what you're trying to do is not hit the thing superficially, which means that I'm kind of going to bounce off it. Think that all the time you're hitting to the center, hitting to the center.
So the basic 𝘱𝘰𝘸𝘠𝗠 cut that we do is basically an alignment towards the center of the person or the object. So that's why that's one of the reasons we work with 𝘱𝘰𝘠𝑚𝑢𝑐ＨI, because it's the most direct line towards the center, easy to think about. And you can align the cut to gravity, all that kind of stuff. Boom. Now, can you see the line on the ball? Just about, maybe. There's a little line on the ball. Now, think that if my angle of my cut is going to be here, I'm basically aligning it down that line still. So it's still going towards the center. It's not cutting off that way. So whatever you do with the cut, or a slice also, when we do slices, goes to the center. Clunk, go, ooh, that missed. Goes to the center. Goes to the center. Goes to the center. So whatever angle you're in with the sword, it's always going to cut towards the center of the object itself, right? So just think about that as you do it. Balls are really great to work with because they've got a very obvious center, but everything has a center, right? So you're going to just angle the body towards it or cut towards it. Draws are a little bit tricky. Where's the center of the draw? I'm not sure. The center of that. Yeah. So this is actually easier with a smaller object. But again, think of aligning the cut each time into the center, into the center, into the center. So you can cut, you can slice, you can work with your comment. Naturally, it's going to kind of go that way anyway. So allow it to happen and allow the body to align behind it again. That's the key. Good. Good, great, perfect. Good. Last thing we're going to add, again, it's just to test the connection, is a raise with the sword. So what you're going to do, just be mindful of your ceiling. You can do this. What you're going to do now, what we've been doing is basically just raising and cutting the sword this way. So this in a sense is quite easy because the tip of the weapon's relatively low in the movement. What I want you to do is actually raise the sword up to the top. So you're going to raise the sword, the tip goes to the top towards the ceiling, and then find that settle into that position, and then engage into a cut. Okay. So it's a little bit more now. There's a little bit of a stretch up, and I've got a position where I need to kind of really settle the weight down again. So you can do this anyway. You can do this any foot, but think about the first move is going to be a raise towards the ceiling, and the second cut, again, can be any angle, can be at any object. Just explore them, but find a position. Raise the sword up to the ceiling, dunk, and then engage into a cut this way. Yeah, give it a try. So doing this now in 2 steps. Raise up to the top and release into the cut. And feel that principle of grounding is active, especially during the raise. So it's really, really, really important that principle basically stays on. Grounding heavy body. That's good. Okay. Okay, so there's 2 ways you can challenge this position. You can use a heavier bokken, heavier object with more weight, or you can just do the movement slow. So they actually work the same, in a sense, the same way. Slow is actually better because it gives me, again, more control. The tendency with heavy is to go more power and try and raise this way. Now, notice where the raise starts from when you do this, okay? So you're going to connect into the weapon. Now, if my raise actually, in a sense, goes that way, and then I raise, that's a 2-step raise. So I'm pulling into the body and then I raise it up. Now think that I need to basically be in a position here with the arms as my extension where I can initiate the raise from that position. Yeah, so do this either with a heavy bokken if you've got one, like this, or do it slow with a regular bokken. And do it really slow, but really notice the raise as you do it. So you want the raise to actually be ground, 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 and release. But notice the tendency to pull towards the body, natural, but try and kind of fight that feeling. So you want to pull towards the body. Think about pressing the ground and doing something different, which is a raise which is initiated from the ground, from the feet. Yeah. And the aim of this is to have one smooth raise at the top. And then the cut's the cut, you just follow through with it. Just notice, and again, just notice how kind of difficult it is to do that. And to do it smoothly, to do it balanced, to be centered, all that stuff. Quite difficult. And you basically want to make it easier on yourself. That's it. Good, good. Okay, good. So again, just to kind of check the connection and also challenge a little bit, we're going to look at one movement, which is actually based on a Sankhya. So if you think about the Sankhya that we've got in the system, this is going to be like an Uruvasa. So the first movement, this is a raise up with the elbow, and then a cut back with the arm this way. So you're looking to basically raise the arm up and then slice back with the hips. This is a classic sword work movement of the body. So what you do with this one, what I want you to think about is raising up to the top, getting this connection with the hip, really feel this connection out with the arm, just to this position here. So the hands are just like in front of the head here. Raise them up, feel that connection. And then what I want you to think about is initiating from the hip here and slicing down this way, right? In the taijutsu form, we do the kind of two-step, we kind of slice with the feet this way. But all I want you to think about is a kind of cut down version of this. You raise up, yeah, find that connection, and then release the hip, slice to the back. Okay? You can make that slice as big as you like, but you've got to basically raise up, pressure in the ground, and then engage with a slice this way. Okay? So it's a kind of variation on a basic cut again. Up through the center, release through the ground. And the connection works two ways. You can think about doing the Sankhya as you do it with a cut. And when you've got the person in with the arm, you can think about doing a sword cut with their arm, like this. So that principle works two ways. This is the kind of re-eye in the system. That's it. Yeah, okay. So this is actually a tricky move. Just the last minute or so, look for this as you raise up into this position. My weight's going to kind of settle into this hip here. Now the hip and the foot are still flexible, but I keep weighting it. So the foot in this case, but the tendency in this is to kind of do something with the feet. Now in this case, you've got that pressure down in the foot here, and then feel that you roll through it. So the back hip's going to slice out and basically still heavy. So the main thing is that you keep the weight in the body. Yeah, if you think about cutting someone down, if my weight goes up or off the ground, then I lose the technique. So think about I cut them up, and then as I cut back, I'm really heavy into the ground. So think about everything basically always aligning to the ground. The last 30 seconds of this, just take it a little bit deeper. So you basically cut it up, and then you slice it down. Now the deeper I go with the body, the more it's going to challenge that ability to kind of ground, but it'll actually make it easier in a sense. It's a little bit more like the taijutsu form in a sense that you're engaging the lower body a little bit more than we do with the sword. That's it. Yeah. So you got a really clear movement between the raise and then the drop in the cut. super clear. Good. Good. And then the last 30 seconds, do this without the bokken. So we train all the bokken all the time to really get that feeling of sword work in the hands. So generally I teach weapons first and then taijutsu. So the idea is that I basically still got the sword in the hands when I'm doing my taijutsu. So just think about now you've got the sword, I've got that connection, I raise it up, put it back. And just the last few. You can step into this rotation, but raise up, yeah, and then cut back. So obviously when we're doing the taijutsu, the handwork needs to basically open up. But just keep that feeling of the sword in the hands now. But the key thing is keep that kind of density through the whole body. This way. Raise it now. And cutting back with it. So raise up, cut back. Last few. And once you've got a feel for this, you can actually take this anywhere. So that same movement happens all over the system, basically. 𝘥𝘰𝘢𝘵𝘪𝘏𝑒𝑚𝑖𝑛𝑎𝑔𝑒, 𝘠𝘰𝑎𝑖, all these movements, they're really modifications of this feeling and the form that we've got in the sword. Very good. Great. Okay, very good. Okay, so this is one of the problems when we do open handwork or empty handwork. Like, what do I do with my hands when I'm doing them? I'm thinking about 𝘥𝘢. I always go back just the feeling of the sword work, or the 𝘤𝑰𝑀 work also really useful. But as soon as I get lost in that, of the hands, what am I doing with them? I start to imagine, I start to get doubt with it. Just go back to the sword work. Sword work's the easiest. It's all sword work in the end. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, we will bow up. Very good. So. Great. どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
Good. And if you've got any questions, nothing's clear, let me know. Need to repeat anything? Want me to